While some people have been disappointed by the release of GPT-5, basically expecting more of a quantum leap, and certainly Sam Altman's hyping of it would have led many people to believe that it was going to be a larger jump. Now, some people have pointed out that GPT-4, when it first came out, was kind of not a dud, but it was not as impressive as where it ended up. So, with all that being said, we are still right on time in terms of scaling. One of the most compelling pieces of data out there is the METR, or METR. So this is a benchmark that is, in my opinion, one of the best benchmarks because it looks at success on real world tasks. Now, this one has been trotted out quite a bit. It is basically how long does it take, or how long can a model function autonomously with a 50% success rate on software engineering tasks. Now, of course, that is kind of narrow. You know, software engineering is only one domain and it's text native. Basically, all software code is in ASCII characters or Unicode characters. So it's intrinsically tokens. It's not necessarily a physics, like physics in terms of real world problems. However, when you look at the rate of takeoff, it is really incredible. So here you see a nice conventional exponential. Now, one thing that many people have noticed is that a couple years ago, most of them were below the curve, and today most of them are above the curve. So you might say that looks a little bit like acceleration. And when you plot the same data on a log curve, it looks mostly like a straight line on a logarithmic graph, except where you see a couple of these examples where they're really trying to start curve upwards. So what I did was I took the raw data here, and let me just show you real quick what the raw data looks like. So the raw data is a YAML file. So this is easily readable by AI. I took that raw data and then I put it in ChatGPT. I used O5 Pro. You see where it thought for 8 minutes on it. And basically I said, let's plot this on, instead of a logarithmic curve, let's do a super exponential curve. And what it said basically was that the model choice was in the super exponential, the log quadratic won and is decisively super exponential. So when you look at the data, basically what this is saying is that the METR example, where it is rendered on just a logarithmic, it says, okay, that's a pretty good fit, but actually modeling this as a super exponential is a better fit. So let me show you what that graph looks like. So this was the end result. When you plot out all of the all of the rising ability to perform longer and longer tasks with a 50% success rate. Now, one of the important things to remember is this is not how long it's operating autonomously. This is the human equivalent task work. So when GPT-5 Pro or GPT-5 does something that would take a human 2 hours, it usually does it in just a couple minutes. So it's not only is it doing more complex tasks over a longer time horizon, it's doing them faster. It's doing them at superhuman speed. So with that being said, when you look at where we're at and where we're going, this is where it gets a little bit redonkulous and a little bit bonkers. And this is why I'm saying that the singularity is probably going to happen a lot sooner than people might realize. So these numbers, it's like, okay, so 10 to the first, so 10 to the 0 is 1, so 10 to the first is 10, 10 to the third is 1,000, and so on and so forth. So it goes up and up. 10 to the ninth is 1 billion. And this is minutes. So this is autonomous minutes that it's succeeding at. Now at this rate, let me show you the raw data that it output. So at this rate, and please forgive me for just showing you actual spreadsheets on a YouTube video, but these numbers get completely bonkers. So by this is at the beginning. I'm pretty sure that the way to read this is at the beginning of 2025, we had 28.97 minutes on average of P50 success rate. So that's about half an hour. By the beginning of 2026, we're expected to have about 2.8 hours. Now that's pretty reasonable considering GPT-5 just came out and it's just over 2 hours. So we'll be close to the 3-hour mark by the end of 2025, beginning of 2026. Now the implied doubling rate is going down, meaning way back here at the beginning, the implied doubling rate was, I think, about 160 days, and now it's at about 140 days or 120 days. I might have that a little bit wrong. Just trust the math. So that means by the end of 2026, it will have an autonomous P50 task success rate of about 20 hours. That's getting pretty serious. But again, it's going to double a few times during that year, during 2027. So by the end of 2027, beginning of 2028, it will have an autonomous task success rate at 176 hours. The next year, 1,800. The next year, 24,000 hours. Now, 24,000 hours. So to put this into perspective, this is getting to the point where you're really, how do we put this? This is very difficult to wrap your head around in terms of what this means. And I actually realized that I just made a mistake here. This is not the right place for that. So, because we're looking at millions of hours and billions of minutes. So please ignore these notes. Actually, let me just go ahead and delete that so that it's not confusing. So 24,000 hours of autonomous work, 391,000 hours, 7.6 million hours, 181 million autonomous hours, 5 billion autonomous hours, and by 2035, 187 billion autonomous hours of work. Now, this becomes absolutely meaningless because as this super exponential graph grows, you're basically, it's going to have a P50 success rate of something longer than the life of the universe. Now, this is, of course, making a lot of assumptions, and it's also assuming that it's going to generalize beyond just software tasks. Now, if you say software tasks are pretty difficult and there's a lot that you can do with software, is this going to generalize to all math problems? Is it going to generalize to physics and that sort of thing? Because you might say, okay, let's assume that Einstein put in about 24,000 hours. So that's because he worked on it for about 8 to 10 years for the general theory of relativity. If he worked on it full time, that's about 1,800 hours per year. So, okay, this would be a little bit over the general theory of relativity. So that means you could one-shot and two-shot a new general theory of relativity by 2030. Now, of course, the math scores of these are going to be even higher by then. So you're looking at, will these things actually discover new mathematical theorems on their own? Looks like 2030 is a pretty reasonable guess at this rate. If all of those assumptions and there's no additional frictions and those kinds of ideas. But what this data really shows is that there's multiple factors contributing to this growth. So that's hardware is going up, parameter count is going up, the fine-tuning and post-training schemes are going up, tool use is going up, and cognitive architectures and memory are going up, so RAG. So what this is a top-line number, and it's about success rate in real-world tasks. So I think that this is honestly one of the best benchmarks, and the fact that a super exponential is the best fit for this data is really, I'm not going to say alarming, it's actually really exciting to me, but it also shows that way back here, halfway between 2025 and 2026, we're barely toddlers, right? We're standing up and we're wobbling on our fat little chubby baby legs. We haven't even started to walk yet, let alone run or sprint or fly. That's when we start getting into these numbers in just a couple of years. So when you put it in these terms, remember that 1,800 hours is about one human work year. So by 2029, these models will be able to dual shot an entire single human's year worth of work by 2029. That's 4 years from now. That's the beginning of 2029. So actually less than 3.5 years from this date. At this current rate of acceleration, that is how much that work that will be doing. So, I mean, if you're hoping for like a bomb to drop or a mic drop of like, this is what it's going to achieve, this is what this means, I really don't know. Because I've been talking about like we're heading for a period of cognitive hyperabundance, and putting it on numbers, like, okay, kind of articulating what is cognitive hyperabundance. It's when cognition is no longer a bottleneck to economic productivity or human desires. This is what that actually looks like in data format. And when you say, okay, let's say, so 2035, so we could be on GPT, let's say GPT-8. can do the equivalent of 187 million autonomous human hours. That's basically reinventing fire. From fire to the internet. I know it's not quite that much, but if you had 187 million human hours, dedicated hours, that's basically re-engineering civilization as we know it. Now, obviously, the entirety of the human race outputs something like, I think every year, 6 to 7 trillion work hours. But that's 6 to 7 trillion work hours that is doing stuff like tax accounting and moving bricks around. Not all of that contributes directly to frontier science, frontier math, frontier chemistry. But when you have a model that could hypothetically do this kind of stuff, and again, taking into account diminishing returns, sigmoid curves, the sigmoid hasn't activated yet. I, for one, have been saying for years, like, guys, be ready for the sigmoid to activate where, we're still in the acceleration, but it's going to start to peter out. We don't know when it's going to start to taper off. And all the data shows that it is not tapering off yet at all. In fact, it's still accelerating. So we don't know how long it's going to accelerate for. And so if this trend continues for any length of time, we're looking at ludicrous, absolutely bonkers numbers in terms of how autonomous these machines are going to be in just a handful of years. So I'm ultra excited about this. I don't know about you. I can imagine some people looking at this data and being absolutely mortified. But that's the math. That's what the data shows. And as you and I and many people in this space have said, human brains have no intuition for exponentials, let alone super exponentials. So it's just like, okay, what does this actually mean? For me, just as an example, I've probably put about 1,800 hours into understanding post-labor economics. So then could it have solved post-labor economics to the same level that I did in 15 minutes of GPT-8 Pro? Seems like that's within a reasonable amount of time. Could GPT-8 Pro in about 30 minutes solve the next general theory of relativity? Now, obviously, there's another concern here, which is the feedback loops. So a lot of scientific progress and a lot of chemical progress and biological progress and mathematical progress requires you to actually touch the real world. Now, with that being said, if you can do all of the planning up front and then say, okay, let's go do this experiment or go look for the data or go build, because one of the things that many point out is like LIGO and Webb telescope. These are very expensive instruments that take many, many years to build. So basically, all right, sorry, I'm really scattered because I'm so excited. So the bottleneck is going to be the feedback loop with reality. It's going to be the instrumentation, the measurements, those kinds of things. Cognition will not be a bottleneck. The amount of cognition that is like the amount of just superfluous and hyperabundant cognition that we're going to have in just a couple of years, because I don't know about you, I could see this trend sticking around for at least 5 years, which means that we're going to get into the thousands of hours worth of autonomous work. And then if it goes anything beyond that, that's just icing on the cake. It becomes meaningless. Like these larger numbers just become absolutely meaningless. All right, I'm rambling and I'm repeating myself. I don't fully know what to make of this. I would encourage anyone who is skeptical, please check my work. Go download the data yourself. It's up here. Just search for METR, measuring AI ability to complete long tasks. Download the data yourself, and then and crunch it with your favorite chatbot, Gemini, Gemini, Grok, Claude, ChatGPT. And let me know what you think. Like, let me know if you agree or disagree or whatever. But I'm seeing, and I actually got this idea from someone who replied with a tweet to a similar work saying, actually, look, these numbers could be much higher with this rate of acceleration. I do think that super exponential captures the rate of acceleration the best. But then again, you look at the number that are above the curve, and it could be that this is still too conservative. So anyways, are we going to see the singularity by 2032? At least the intelligence explosion portion of it absolutely seems within the possibility of reason. However, like I said, the biggest bottleneck is going to be physics. It takes a certain amount of time to print new chips. It takes a certain amount of time to make new, high energy particle physics experiments and plasma experiments and nuclear fusion experiments. But cognition, intelligence will not be a bottleneck by 2030 at the absolute latest. And beyond that, it's just we're going to go straight to ludicrous speed. So this is really exciting to me. All right, cheers.